It was a cold, rainy afternoon on October 12, 1996, when Transair Flight 192 departed from Oslo, Norway, bound for Toronto Pearson International Airport in Canada. On board were 211 souls, a mix of tourists, businessmen, students, and crew. Unaware that they were about to become part of one of aviation's greatest mysteries, the aircraft was a McDonnell Douglas DC-10, a reliable workhorse of its time. Flight Captain Anders Nygaard, a 47-year-old with over 18,000 flight hours, was in command. First Officer Lisa Granlund sat beside him. Known for her calm under pressure, everything about the flight seemed routine. No mechanical issues, no delays. The plane took off from Oslo Gardermoen Airport at 14:19 local time. The last communication with air traffic control came at 15:07, somewhere over the North Atlantic. Oslo Control, this is Transair 192. Experiencing minor turbulence, but stable. We'll check back in 20 minutes. They never checked back in, and they were never seen again. Asterisk, when the plane failed to check in with Icelandic control. Search and rescue operations were launched. No distress signal had been sent. No radar blip, no debris. No oil slick, nothing. Authorities from Norway, Canada, the UK, and even the US Navy swept the ocean. Satellites combed the skies. Sonar ships mapped the seabed. But Flight 192 had vanished without a trace. The media called it the Scandinavian Bermuda, a triangle of unexplained disappearances in the frigid North Atlantic. Conspiracies exploded. Alien abduction, Soviet sabotage, deep-sea wormholes. But behind the headlines were families, 211 shattered homes, left with no answers. Eventually, the case went cold. After 3 years, the airline declared all passengers legally dead. Life moved on, but not for everyone. Asterisk on June 5, 2025. At exactly 2:17 a.m., air traffic controllers at Gander International Airport in Newfoundland picked up a radar signature. It was unusual. The transponder code identified the flight as Tower 192. A call sign not used in decades. Controllers thought it was a glitch, an old data ghost. But then the voice crackled through the emergency channel. Gander Control, this is Transair 192 declaring low fuel. Requesting emergency landing. Please advise. The controller froze. The voice was male, calm, professional, like a pilot trained in another era. Repeat, Transair 192, we're low on fuel. Requesting permission to land. What is your vector? No one could believe it. The DC-10 had been out of production since the early 2000s. There were no such flights scheduled. Yet here it was, a radar contact, a radio transmission, and visual confirmation from a weather chopper, a fully intact DC-10, in Transair livery. Asterisk as the aircraft descended, air traffic scrambled every available unit. Emergency crews, historians, government agents. The airport was locked down. The plane touched down at 2:41 a.m. Its landing gear screeched against the tarmac like a beast waking from decades of sleep. There was no smoke, no damage, no signs of age. But what came next was even stranger. When responders approached, they found the passengers confused, but alive, dressed in mid-90s fashion, carrying expired passports, speaking with outdated slang. None of them had aged out when informed it was 2025. They laughed. They thought it was a prank. Even more chilling, their onboard watches, analog and digital, all showed October 12, 1996, 15:08 as if time had never passed. Asterisk, within hours, the passengers were taken to a secure facility. Medical teams ran tests, blood work, x-rays, psychological evaluations. Everything came back normal. No radiation, no signs of suspended animation, no memory loss. According to their bodies, they had lived the past few hours in real time. Not 29 years, but investigators were disturbed by one thing. All the aircraft's internal clocks and systems also stopped at 15:08, the exact minute. Flight 192 vanished from radar in 1996. The fuel was half full, consistent with a transatlantic flight mid-route. The food on board was fresh. The in-flight magazines were from 1996. The cockpit data log hadn't recorded a single entry after 15:08 that day. It was like the entire plane had paused. Asterisk after days of waiting, the black box was finally recovered and decoded. The cockpit voice recorder had captured everything up to the last known transmission. 15 hours, 7 minutes, and 46 seconds. Captain Nygard, slight turbulence ahead. Switch to auto. 15 hours, 8 minutes, and 1 second. First Officer Lisa. Wait, is that a lightning arc? Looks horizontal. That's not natural. Then static dot, but in the final seconds, a sound appeared, not mechanical, not natural. It resembled a low-frequency hum, almost rhythmic, like distant machinery or chanting. 15 hours, 8 minutes, and 11 seconds. Captain Nygard. Panicked. What the hell is that cloud doing? Brace. Silence. Then the tape simply ended. No crash. No explosion. And strangest of all, the exterior of the aircraft had no damage. The paint hadn't even faded. It looked like it had just left the factory. Asterisk as the world grappled with the news, more details surfaced. A retired military pilot came forward. He had reported seeing a stationary lightning cloud in the same North Atlantic corridor on October 12, 1996. But his report had been dismissed as hallucination. Then, satellite engineers found an anomaly, a brief electromagnetic surge was logged over the Atlantic that same day, but it had been buried under unrelated data. The theory began forming. Flight 192 may have entered a naturally occurring electromagnetic field, a sort of time displacement vortex, not unlike the Philadelphia experiment rumors or wormhole. Theories. It didn't travel through space. It traveled through time, suspended in a pocket where minutes stretched into decades. But if such a zone exists, who else might be out there? Asterisk 2 weeks after the landing, one of the passengers, a quiet 9-year-old girl named Elsa Rigg, began to speak about something she'd seen during the flight. There was a man in the aisle, she whispered to a psychologist. He wasn't part of the crew. He just stood there, smiling. His eyes were completely white. Startled, the psychologist asked who he was. He whispered something to ME, she said. He said, "Not your time yet." Officials chalked it up to trauma. Until the flight manifest was check. There were 211 names. But 212 people deboarded. No one could explain it. No crew member remembered an extra passenger. There was no extra seat. No trace. No fingerprint. No luggage. Just a calm, white-eyed man who smiled in the storm. Asterisk Flight 192 was quietly taken to a military airbase. Passengers were given new identities, instructed never to speak about what happened. The media moved on, but deep within the archives of Gander Airport, there's a locked folder. The label reads, Tower 192 status, landing confirmed, origin unknown. Time lost, 29 years, non-isolated case. Monitor all transatlantic flights crossing 54N, 30W.